Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Key Ingredient Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Cornell Bunting. Cornell is not only a friend, a father, a motivational speaker, an author, and so much more. Cornell, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, and thank you for having me. This is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to this. You have accomplished so much, but you've also lived a life that many of us cannot necessarily relate to.
Right.
In 2013, you were falsely accused and charged with 16 counts and spent 10 months in prison.
Yeah, man.
You faced 32 years to life for a crime that you didn't commit.
Yep.
Pretty unbelievable. Again, could not imagine what that's like. I want to go back to that in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So Cornell, if you don't mind, for our audience, just maybe start off telling us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing, please.
Yes, definitely. So my name's Cornell Bunting, now published author and motivational speaker with a few other things. But yeah, I was born in Jamaica, understood what it's like to have and to not have. Our world got very crazy at a young age. We went from 100 to 0 because our dad, he had accomplished a lot. He had became superintendent for the super clubs. So we had everything we wanted. As kids, we had the bikes, we had the color TV. No one else had color TVs in the early 80s. So it was a lot of fun, man. And I don't know, him and my mom, something happened. And he just one day decided that, he's going to leave. He sold the house. We didn't even know he sold the house. We had a lady came to the house maybe 2 weeks before we had to move out and said, hey, you guys have 2 weeks to leave. I'm the new owner. And, we never seen our dad. We wasn't hearing from our dad, none of that stuff. So it was like all of the luxury that we had, we lost it in a little bit. Like I remember my mom had to have her brother get one of those truck. And back then those truck, they didn't even really have railings. They had like wood railings. So they came, they load up our furnitures, and we went to the country, like where my mom lived. And she didn't even have enough room for all of us.
Wow. So, what age were you when this happened, by the way?
I was probably around 6, 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an early age, man. And things went crazy. We went from having all we wanted as kids to not, to not having nothing. So I mean, I remember days when we didn't even have dinner. Like I remember days me and my brothers would run on the street to look for food.
Wow.
There was times when we would see the peel of a mangoes, like where people was eating and they peel the skin off the mango. That was what we was eating.
Wow.
For dinner, man. That was how bad it got, But, I had a few opportunities, got a chance to run around in England with my mom, sister. And
so tell me about that. So what age did that happen? What brought you to England then?
It was it's really stability. We didn't have stability. My mom had like a 1-bedroom shack.
Okay.
And so everyone was there, like the bedroom, the kitchen, the living room, dining room, all in one spot.
How many people living in that spot?
I was looking.
You knew I was going to ask that. Yeah.
It was probably about 8.
Okay.
It was
so you were definitely a close knit family, huh?
Oh, all the way close, man. You had people foot in your face, sleeping. It was bad. So, but then England was like a whole nother level, man. The uniform school, the respect, understanding how to carry yourself every day. Get up, you dress, you get proper for what that day looks like. Making sure that you got the right attire on and understanding what that look like. So it really shaped me into a different individual. And
not to interrupt you, Cornell. How did that happen? So you went to England, but so what happened? What was the catalyst to bring you into that situation?
We just didn't have enough space for everyone.
Okay.
So my mom's sister, she was a nurse for the army.
Okay.
And she said, "Hey, I'll take you all this." And that's how I got
that
opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So that's how we ran into that space, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I got into English literature. you know, fell in love with a lot of the Mark Twain stuff, you know, Huckleberry Finn, you know, all of that. Good books and stories from back then. And then I discovered this 19th century poet as well, named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And then I discovered he was from America here in Maine. And so that kind of, you know, grabbed me into the literature world a little bit, and I got into that writing and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So in high school, was that your thing, literature?
Yeah. In high school, so I went back to Jamaica, finished high school, and in high school there was this girl that I really like, and I wanted to date her, and so I followed her. I was in soccer, but she didn't care for soccer too much.
Okay.
She was into the drama, like acting. And so I followed her there. And when she was like, if you want to hang out with me, you got to join the drama club. And so I joined the drama club.
Of course you did, right?
So that was a lot of fun in the drama club. And then I got a chance to start writing scripts for plays. And then, you know, my teacher, she took a liking to my style of how I tell a story. And we did quite a bit of those plays. And then they took one of my plays and put it into a competition.
Wow.
You know, and it was a lot of fun. We came in second, and but I didn't pursue that out of school. When I left school, I actually became a Caribbean history teacher.
Okay.
And then I hated that. I just felt like it was boring. I wasn't meeting people. So I say, you know, I got to find a job that I'm meeting people. So it's almost like I totally forgot that I had the skill to write.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I got into this. My friend was working at Crown Plaza. It was a hotel where a lot of the celebrities from here, America, would visit. And he was like, hey, man, your personality would go well with this resort, you know. And I was like, okay. So I went for the interview, and I was so excited about the place. I could not stop smiling. And this lady was like, you know, are you ready to work? Like, she was so take to how I was.
Sure.
She was like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to work. She's like, you ready to work right now? She literally hired me, put me to work. I was working there. So at the time I went to the interview, I start working maybe an hour and a half later.
Did you really? So what was your role there?
Bellman.
Okay.
Bellman.
Okay.
So Bellman is where you meet guests when they pull up at the resort. You get their luggage, you take them to their room, you tell them about the resort a little bit, and, you know, surrounding areas that they can go and enjoy themselves. So I had so much fun with that. I probably did that for over 16 years, man.
Did you really? Okay.
I did.
Wow. All right.
I was locked in because, you know, after they sold the Crown Plaza, and I had me on a contract, and so they were like, hey, we can't pay you all the contract, so we're gonna get you a job in Captiva.
Okay.
So I came to Captiva Island, and
so that's what brought you here.
That's what brought me
okay.
Here to
what year was that? Roughly?
That was in 2000.
Okay, so 2000. Okay.
Right the year before those planes flew into the buildings in New York, and
9/11. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was wild, and but it was a lot of fun. I love meeting people. I love just helping them to have a memorable vacation, whatever that looks like.
Okay.
You know? So we had a lot of fun with that, and I just kept going, man.
Okay. So what happened after that? So you were in Captiva as a bellman.
Yes. So Captiva, and then Charlie happened a couple of years later.
Sure.
Charlie destroyed Captiva, but before Charlie destroyed Captiva, I decided I wanted to stay in America. So there was this girl I was messing with, and she wanted to, you know, tie the knot with me so I could get my papers.
Okay.
So we did that, and then she got pregnant, you know. So it was a whole lot of stuff happened. But when Charlie came, we were discombobulated, and she didn't tell her parents that we were married. So I couldn't go to her parents' house to stay with her. I had to go to New York, stay with my family in the Bronx.
Okay.
And Found out that she, decided she was gonna move on with another guy, and man, that put me in a crazy headspace. I was crying. I was emotional.
Sure you were.
It was the first time my cousin slapped me so hard. Just slapped the crying out of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? He was like, dude, you're in New York. I get you a girl. It's okay. Girls do that.
Right.
And, from there, I was like, okay, I can do this. And, I got with some girl that owned a clothing store up there. And then, she helped me to get back down here because I still had to get my papers.
Sure.
Like I still had to go to the immigration to do my interview, all that stuff. And, but they denied me the first time.
Okay.
They looked at both of us. I'm like, it's no way you guys was married, like legit.
Right. They could tell.
Yeah, it was brutal. And they were like, well, you got to prove to us that this is legit. And so it almost like they forced us to get back together.
Okay.
And she moved back into my condo I had in Fort Lauderdale. And, from there, she ended up getting pregnant. And
okay.
I had to put her on a lot of stuff. And all the requirements they told me I needed, I did all that. Her getting pregnant, having baby, they didn't look at none of that.
Really?
They saw my son and they're like, yep, give me my papers. It was wild. So, and then a couple years later, I became citizen. And I said, you know what? Now I can go after, opening my own company, go back to school, all these different things, because I wanted to have degrees here.
Sure.
Right? My degrees from the Caribbean was not equivalent to the American degree. So I had to go, I did information technology, got my degree there and discovered that I could do very well in security.
What age were you when you went back to school here?
I was probably 28.
Yeah, not easy to do that at 28 with children. And
yeah.
So security. So let's go into that.
Yeah, we got into the security world. So originally I was supposed to do internet security, network security, but I wasn't getting jobs in that area. I was getting jobs in physical security. And so I had to start hiring more physical security guys to do clubs.
So like bouncers and
yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes. So, and I was getting jobs from here all the way to Miami.
Okay.
Very busy. Every week was really busy. And but I would go with my sales guy to get a lot of these jobs. Like I would, say, hey, we could do it for this, and so we get most of the jobs we went after.
Okay.
And my competitors didn't like that.
Yeah. So that's so I'm going to stop you there because that's kind of the build up to the story, right?
Yeah.
So let's expand on that. So your competitors didn't like it.
Right.
And what happened after that?
So basically what happened for me, so it started, we had signed 3 contracts with some people call them Wabi, but they're like, guys from like Abu Dhabi or whatever.
Okay.
That area. And so it was like hookah lounges, bar, but one of them had some drama with some type of engine for a vessel boat or whatever. And so I think it was fitting for my competitors to say, you know what, let's use that to try to maybe set him up. Now, I'm just telling you this because I discovered all this after, but at the time, I had no idea what was going on. And so when I had there was this one guy that worked for me that I gave him a lot of locations. I gave him a lot of jobs. I wanted him to make money so he could, pay for his wedding and all these things. And but that was the guy they used. They paid him to fabricate a story. And so I remember when I had recruited, I don't know, like 30-something guys, we did an orientation, and they were trying to make that orientation like that was when I was planning to go kidnap some guy, him and his workers, and kill them, rob them, all this.
So they claimed you were looking to kidnap and kill somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically what happened, before, we got there, I wanted to sit down with these new guys that I had signed, with and say, hey, this is a good security to have at you guys' location. I had sent him to an event that they had there, and they didn't like that he had a knife, like he had one of those little pocket knife for him, and they saw that, and the owner said, I don't want that guy there because he came with weapons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, when I hired him as a weapons security. He had his G license and stuff like that.
Okay.
So with that, I told him not to do all that, but he didn't follow instruction. But I still liked him. I still wanted to give him another chance. And so you know what, let's have breakfast. We'll reevaluate, what's going on with you. And that day we going for breakfast. That was when we got pulled over. We got pulled over on Burnstore Road. And on that road, first they accused us of speeding, which we weren't even speeding. Then they said the license wasn't good because the gentleman was driving. And then they said we need to step out the car because something happened that they're not sure what happened.
What were you thinking at that moment?
I was like, maybe, something happened.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to get into our drive to wherever that something had happened. I was kind of lost.
Sure, of course you
know. So,
it happened so quickly, and you don't tell anything. Sure.
And then they brought me to this room, like it was like a question room or whatever. And then they came and they're like, where's the body? And I'm like, what is happening right now?
You have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, it was weird. It was the weirdest thing. Like they're throwing all these things, and I'm like, whoa, slow down, you guys. I'm so confused. But then I realized that they had something serious was going on. And I said, you know what, man, just get me to the jail or whatever. And let me get my attorney or whatever, see what's really going on here.
Wow.
Yeah. So they kept me overnight. Well, I mean, I didn't go back out after that because I was open. Like they would have, give me bond. I go home.
Yeah. So they wouldn't even allow you to do that, is it?
Nope.
Okay.
I was in a cell with about 19 other guys. It was a little cell. I had one toilet in it, and the toilet flushed every 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was an interesting situation because they tell us. This guy, I don't know what happened. He couldn't keep whatever he had going on in his stomach, and he went and used it, and it was bad in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad, and we couldn't get out. And so one guy hit him, tell him to sit on it, keep the thing down. Yeah. It was crazy, man. So, but it was like, man, there's this world going on that I've never seen this type of world.
Of course.
So it was a lot of new stuff, interesting. Some of it was funny because I just find funny in stuff, So I was like, okay, man, we're gonna get through this. Tomorrow we'll, go in front of the judge. And so I'm thinking I'm going in a courtroom. Nope, they gave me a orange suit, like a drum suit.
Wow.
And I said, you go to first appearance. And but it was on a TV.
Okay.
And they're calling out these charges. So I sat back down, and the guy was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, they're calling out some charges on some other stuff. I don't know what that is. They're like, that's your charges. What? How? They're calling out 8 counts on the solicitation, 8 counts on the conspiracy. And I was like, I think you guys have the wrong guys right now because I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So, but yeah, they hit me with those charges, and then I didn't have a bond. They said there were so many holes on your bond, you can't bond out.
Okay.
And so I had to sit there. Then they send me up to the 4th floor of maximum security.
Wow.
This was where I met some serious, real criminals, like 3 life sentence, 2 life sentences.
Oh my God.
Guys, like these guys were back on appeal, trying to take some of their sentence off,
Yeah.
I'm still confused. Like,
so what was okay? So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So when you walked in there and you're seeing people who, like you said, serious crimes,
right?
What was it like? You walk in this room, everybody's probably staring at you.
Oh, they were, because so what I didn't know, because in jail, all they show them is the news.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the news for 3 days. They did this whole story on me where I guess I had body bags, we had zip ties, we had all these things. I'm like, what?
So everyone else is hearing this, right?
Oh yeah.
Did that help you? I mean, I would imagine it would.
It helped me in a huge way.
Sure
they thought I was a dangerous man.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
When I got in there, these guys were taking commissary from other people and giving it to me because it takes a while to set up your account. And so you can spend $50 every week. And basically what that is just, little chips, honey bar, and all these different things that you can get. And so it took maybe close to 3 weeks to get my account set up and stuff. But yeah, the guys were taking people's stuff and giving it to me. And then I found out that they were taking other people's stuff. I'm like, no, guys, it's okay. Yeah. But they were like, Dread, everything good, Dread. We got you, Dread. Like it was... But I was really angry because I was losing a lot of money and I didn't really know what was going on.
Sure. Wow.
I was lost. So it was really when, my attorney came and he said, hey, this is racial driven. There's a lot of stuff going on. We got to get you out so we can fight this. And, we worked through it. It took them about 9 months to lift the whole off the bond.
So for 9 months you were in prison.
I was in there for 10.
Okay, 10, right.
Yeah, 9 they got the whole lift.
Okay.
Took me another couple weeks to put the money together to bond out because the bond had went down to $365,000.
Okay.
So I had to get 10% of that to bond out. So I had to sell some stuff and so bond out. But in that time when I was there, we had a lot of stuff unfold because maximum security, you only get about an hour a week outside looking at the sky. So you're not seeing around, you're just seeing up.
Sure.
That's it, because the walls are that high. And you're on the roof, like you're on the roof of the jail and stuff, and you have guys that still watching you. They call it like a rec yard, and so anyone wanted to duke it out, that's when they would get a chance to duke it out because you couldn't fight down there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could fight, but when they will do lockdown and they'll check your knuckles. And if your knuckles had any red on it, they put you in the box.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. They didn't even ask you if you was a part of it. If you had any red on your knuckles, like you hit someone, you go in the box.
Interesting.
And the box is terrible. You probably could go. I mean, I had this one guy that was cool dude with me. Got in the box. He went crazy. He went crazy maybe after 2 weeks. They put him in the box for 3 months.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Sure it is.
Oh, yeah, man. So, when all that was unfolding, we had a situation happen where a fly pull up. Fly came in the cell where we were. And everyone got excited. They're like, yo, where did this fly come from? Because you don't see no cracks nowhere.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, just same, like a voice was saying, the same way this fly came in here, the same way you're going to go out.
Oh, okay.
And then things just kind of start falling into place.
Okay.
It was like a voice saying, gave you this gift, you sat on it, and now I need you to tap into it because you have nothing but time.
Okay. Interesting.
So I start buying writing pads. And I just tapped back into my writing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened after that?
From there, I wrote like about 4 books.
And then let me stop you for a second. How were the charges dropped? What was that situation like?
So the charges didn't drop yet.
Okay.
So because that got dragged out for 3 years.
Okay.
We did about 14 pre-conference trial. They wanted me to take a plea deal. They didn't want to go to trial. I said, guys, I can't take a plea deal. You guys have to go to trial because I didn't do whatever you guys are trying to say I did. And so they dragged it out for as long as they could. They were open that I didn't have any money or I'd run out of money, so I would take the deal. But I hang in there by my neck, man. I remember, after I'd been out and I was going down to maybe my last $1,000, I remember sitting down with my attorney like, listen, man, I'm in the weeds here.
Sure.
You need to get us in the trial, man. And so it just happened that week. My case had became the oldest case for that judge. And they decided, okay, we're going to go to trial because he's not taking no deal.
Right,
you
right.
know? And they didn't like me for not taking a deal. They wanted me to take a deal.
Well, you were defiant as far as they were concerned, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we went to trial, and then we were in trial. On the third day, they brought my accuser up on the stand. And I had sat down with my attorney to kind of write the questions, to ask him, because I was really surprised who it was when I found out.
So you didn't know until that time.
No, I didn't know. It was the craziest thing, and I was like, I'm so confused. I helped this guy. This guy have dinner with me and my kids.
Yeah.
This guy understand me as a single dad trying with my kids. He saw the struggles. So I was really surprised on his action. Like, why would he do this?
So at this moment, you're sitting there, you're seeing this person for the first time since then, right?
Right.
You're facing 32 years to life. Am I correct in saying that?
Right.
What was going through your mind? I mean, I cannot even imagine.
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed because here I am. I did so much for this person. I was trying to get this person to make as much money as possible so I could do his wedding. And just to, find out that, he was the one that did that. So I was like, okay, how do I get past this anger and just forgive this dude?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know God got me, like I know I'm going to be okay. I never had a doubt that, like, oh, it's, I might go to, no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if there's any God, I know I'm not going to no prison to go do no 32 years to life.
Sure. So what happened with the accuser? So they're up there?
Yeah. So in questioning what happened, the first question was asked to him the sixth time with a twist.
Okay.
And the way it was asked to him, I think the way he answered this question, he felt like justifying his answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just went into a venting mode. Like he was just venting on, didn't like the locations that I was putting him, didn't like that I was black and so young and I was owning a company that was getting successful, all these different things. And then just in the midst of his venting, my attorney said, how much they paid you? And he said how much they paid him. And then he realized, oh snap, I just told on myself. It was crazy. And he was like, wait. Like, what do you mean wait, bro? You just put all that out there on record, So that's really how everything got crumbled.
So then they realized the story was completely fabricated.
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone was in there in shock with their mouth open. I'm like, are you guys serious? I told you guys this 3 years ago that all that stuff was not real. But they decided to still go with the, because we had already picked the jury, so they wanted to put it in the jury hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it would have been brutal if this jury had went in. I'm like, oh yeah, despite all these things that we're seeing and hearing, we think he's guilty. I'm like, there's no way. Even if we had jurors that didn't like my type,
right,
I don't see it. I just couldn't see it. But even then, because of how tense it was with my kids there, I still wanted to say to them, hey, I don't know what the future looks like.
Sure.
I don't know what's going to happen in the next hour, but I love you boys. And I'm always be there as best as I can, and so with that, we cried it out. We didn't know what was happening. We was in there unclear right now. So I think they were in there for maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like they were in there for 3 hours.
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
My heart was beating, man.
So they came out, your heart is beating. Everybody could probably hear it beating, right?
Yeah.
And they come out and say,
not guilty, man. And
guilty.
they call out all 16 counts, not guilty and all of them. And then it was like just this. It was like a bunch of water was waiting, like after all that, to just start come out. And then I just broke down, man.
How could you? I could feel that when you said that. I mean, I couldn't imagine how you felt. I mean, sure.
It was brutal. So
just out of curiosity, the person who falsely accused you, what happened to them? Nothing. That's what I figured. And that isn't that a shame, though?
I know,
that's a crime in itself, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, listen, thanks for sharing that. That's unbelievable. So okay, I want to go here now because we mentioned about you being a writer.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
now,
right.
you're not just someone who likes to dabble in writing. You have written 27 children's books. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
16 novels.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Where does the inspiration come from?
Yeah. So, like I said, it started, back in jail, and I wrote 4 books. When I got out, because even though that had ended, I still had those accusations hanging on my name on record until it would possibly get expunged.
Sure.
So no one would hire me.
Yeah.
And I was broke. I had no money. So, but we had a home. And so I had nothing but time. So I just tap into my writing, the little stories in my head. I could look at a fly playing with a peanut and turn it into a story.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wrote a bunch of stories. I wrote a bunch of manuscripts. I saw how the pattern of how I should do a manuscript. I did some drafts and fine tune it. Like, okay, I like this story, and then I'll final with that story, and I just leave it there. And so I decided, okay, I got to get a book out. But then I was like, I might still have the challenges because I had all this accusation on my name. But I couldn't think of that. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go at it because it was a gut feeling, like just try to get it published, So I got it published so I decided I'm gonna put out Lion with No Roar first. So Lion with No Roar is like this kid's story, but it has my hidden story in it because I'm Leo, consider myself a lion. So I'm like, I got no voice. I got no voice, but I know my day is coming when all this that I'm meant to be doing is going to come out, and, I'm going to help impact lives and stuff like that. So Lion with No Roar is about this cub that was born to this older lion couple, and he didn't have a voice. He didn't have a roar. And so because his friends, they were a little bit shocked because he was supposed to be the next in line. He had an uncle that was very deceitful. And his uncle played on that, played on who he was as a, little cub, and got him kidnapped, taken by humans. And they had him in like the zoo, and they were trying to train him, and they found out he just wasn't that lion after he grew up and stuff. So they had actually put him back. Luckily, they didn't kill him. They put him back. And so the story unfolds more, if you guys... I mean,
you can see the inspiration of the story, obviously.
Definitely.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a really powerful story because it does have my hidden story in it. If like when someone read that story, they're like, something else is happening, So, and that's like a part 1 of a 5-book series. So there's a bunch more that is not out yet. Because we had other books came out, but Lion with No Roar got picked up by Author House. And then from that, I got a chance to go tour England, and some of my speaking engagements there, I got picked up by Austin Macaulay, and they're in Canary Wharf in London. And so they're like, hey, we want to redo your book. Your book right now look like a box with a question sign on it. We want to make it more kids friendly.
Okay.
So, they took it over, and so that was, quite a deal. And, so I ran with that for a little bit, and then found out that I really wasn't making the money that I was supposed to be making. So, I got into more books. I said, okay, I'm going to release this book. And then I released Book of Poems because of the liking that I took to Henry Wadsworth Fellow when I was younger, and his writing and how he write poems. And so I was like, okay, because in my head, this was always in my head. Heights by great men, reach and kept were not attained by sudden flight. But they, while their companions slept, was upward toiling through the night. And the way it was laid out, it's a lot of stuff impacting it. But it's basically saying, if you got this craft or something that you believe in, you work on it. Even when those individuals that don't necessarily believe you is sleeping, doing what they're doing, you up working on your craft, trying to get good at it. And once you understand that, you put it out. Yeah.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I need to put this book out. So I put it out, and it debuted at #1.
Wow.
In the poetry category. And so that kind of just boosts my confidence.
Sure it did.
Okay, now I got to start running with this.
Wow.
And that's how I start putting out books. And then I had a literary agent at the time, and he said, hey, you should put out a memoir. And the memoir would highlight the 10 months I was in jail facing 32 years to life. And when I died for 60 minutes, and I know that's
we didn't even get to that.
Know.
I mean, that is a story in itself.
Yeah, that is a story in itself. But that book came out, and that book spent a whole month at #1.
Wow, congratulations.
So that was beautiful. Escaping a life sentence.
Okay.
So that was pretty dope.
Are you working on anything right now?
Is there I mean, so because I had written over 50 books, there's a lot of books just sitting right now. I have about 9 books published. So I wanted to drop this book, Cornell Bunting, Journeyman. So we've sent it out. We had a British publisher that was going to be putting it out, but I had to put a hold on it because of what I had going on with my nonprofit organization, EAS.
Yeah, which I'd like to get into that.
Yeah. So but we're still going to be dropping that novel. So Cornell Bunting, Journeyman definitely will be dropping sometime, this summer, and we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully, it has a Game of Thrones type of feel to it.
Okay.
So, we'll see what happens.
Exciting. So you mentioned EHAS. So tell us a little bit about your involvement. What is EHAS?
Yes.
And what is your involvement in it?
So EHAS stands for Everyone Has a Story. And basically, EHAS helped to create self-reliance and a growth mindset for disadvantaged youths. And so how EHAS came about when I was in jail, back in jail, meeting all these different young men. And I tell you, I met teenagers. I was 18, 19, then young guys, and then the stories that got them in there. I was like, man, these dudes are lack of so much knowledge, They have no idea how they can impact where they live, and what that look like without turning to crime. Like, there was this one kid in there, he was so out of his mind on drugs that it was 3 days after he was there, he realized he was in jail. It was the craziest thing.
Wow.
Then there was this other kid. They went to a pharmacy to rob the pharmacy, and they went through the drive-through, wrote on a note, they have a gun, all these things, and gave it to the lady in the window and waited for the drugs.
Oh, my God.
So the cops went and picked them up.
Sure, they did. Yeah. Well, because they were so out of their mind.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, like you say, you're not thinking rationally to do something like that.
No, I had a lot of, put it like this. We play Monopoly in there. We play spades. I had no skills in spades. I learned spades in there, and then I was just beating them like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Monopoly, it doesn't matter who had what. I would always end up with all the properties. And then they was like, oh, man, we can't even play no more.
I'm never going to play Monopoly with you, Cornell.
We hit everything, and we got to pay you, Cornell. But there was... I would swindle them in things, like I would get them railroads for this property, and they wouldn't pay attention that I already had 2.
Right.
So as the minute I get that one, I bowed up, put up some hotels, and they hit it. And then so before you know it, I had everyone's money, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
Then I had somewhere I would lend some money, and then I would take something from them. It was crazy. And I was like, man, these guys are locking a lot of knowledge in different years. A lot of them didn't know how to think critically. And I was like, you know what? When I get a chance, after this writing start doing what it's doing, I'd love to open an organization that could address the mindset, And so that's what EAS is. It's basically we work with youth at risk, disadvantage, whatever that looks like. And we bring them, so we touch on how to think critically, what financial literacy looks like, an entrepreneur, assertiveness, self-confidence. We touch on the different areas that a school don't do.
Yeah. At what age do you usually start?
So we start at 9.
Okay, so age 9, yeah.
9th grade all the way up to through college. You know,
Okay.
just because everyone needs, you know, a little bit of sharpening. You know, help them understand this year.
Sure, of course.
Right. So that's how EAS got birthed. So in 2020, I had filed for my 501c3. And I was told that's going to take a while. So I was like, I won't launch the organization until I get that. So I didn't get that until 2002.
Okay.
No, 22.
2022. I knew. Yeah,
2022. I got the letter and I launched in March. Downtown Fort Myers. I had the Mayor Anderson came out and was a keynote speaker, just kind of talk about what me and him had sat down on how we could address a lot of the initiatives, you know, and what that looked like.
Sure.
So that's what EAS is. And so now what we do, we go into these different institutions, schools, we work with these youths, and we bring them that knowledge and what that look like. And so now we just became a vendor with Department of Juvenile Justice. So we haven't really started getting government money yet.
Sure.
Been using my own money. So,
okay,
you know, this year we have our first fundraiser coming up where we'll get an opportunity to raise some money to do a lot of what we're doing, like to, you know, put the workbooks together, to maintain the online course so they can go online, do their courses, get their certificates saying, hey, I complete this. So now I kind of more understand how to do this or to do that.
Sure.
You know, and we address mental health in a huge way.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But this, so this is still in the early stages.
Oh,
obviously.
yeah.
But what's interesting is, as you mentioned, you have an event coming up. It's a golfing event. And how many golfers do you have?
So right now, I mean, we're hoping to have, I wanted to have 144.
Okay. 144, okay.
Yeah. But, you know, it's still around a lot of people. Oh, man, that's an expensive course.
Sure.
But right now we have about 90-something golfers.
So for this early stage, you know, kind of thing that you're working on, you have 90 golfers. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So
it's huge.
So let's kind of conclude here, if you don't mind, Cornell, because your story, and listen, I appreciate you sharing all that with us. And some of those things are probably not fun to have to kind of keep repeating, but what's next for you? You've done so much already. What is next? I mean, I'm assuming you dream big.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So EAS, you know, we already expanded with EAS because I discovered some homes in Jamaica where these kids needed help as well. So we're opening a branch of EAS in Jamaica as well. And the government is coming on board to help with that. And then, you know, of course, trying to put that on autopilot. I have a great team. Shout out to the whole EAS team, everyone that has been helping that to really move and function. You know, all the sponsors that have gotten behind what I'm doing, seeing the power behind, you know, what we do and how we impact these youths. And so with that, you know, once I get that on autopilot, then I start focusing back on my personal brand, which is a multifaceted artist, you know, between my clothing line, the video games that have concept, the gameplay, and the brand, you know, speaking. Like, I want to move from where I'm making $4,000 every speaking to 50 grand.
Sure.
I know that takes a while. So we working on all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know you and I have had separate conversations on that. I think that's amazing.
Oh, definitely.
Listen, wow, great story, Cornell. Thanks for sharing this. Not only did you go through a lot, but you've maintained a positive attitude. Is very obvious in a time where it was probably not easy to stay positive.
Right.
And I know through your faith and through your family and other ways you managed to do that. So I want to personally thank you for this. I want to also thank you for all these wonderful things you're doing and giving back.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a huge thing. So I wish you continued success.
Yes, sir.
And I really enjoyed having you. Thanks again.
And I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Cornell.